What's up, everybody? This is Mark from My Card Post, back with another member spotlight. Today, we are talking with Jordan, aka Packburst. Jordan, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Mark, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been a fan for many months of My Card Post and a lot of people within the community. So happy to be a part of the journey and the ride, and happy to share what I've got with you
Awesome.
for today.
Really appreciate you coming on. So one of the things we noticed that you are getting close to your 100th deal on My Card Post. I know you've been on the platform about 8 or 9 months or so, and we'll get to that. But first, maybe just tell people a little bit about yourself, your card collecting journey, and kind of like what you like to do in the hobby.
Sure. So really, I think like anyone, my collecting journey started when I was a young kid. It started off with baseball. I used to try to build these lineups around the diamond with like the best baseball card players I could get. So I remember some random things. I'm not a huge baseball fan now, but I had my Piazza card that I thought looked really cool that I was like, yeah, he's going to be an awesome player for me. And then I had a Kenny Lofton card who, stealing bases all the time. Yeah, I loved it. Anyways, that's where my journey really started. I then got into obviously TCGs. I would be a millionaire had I kept my Pokemon cards and my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I didn't. I threw them away like most of the other people, but I had fun time playing with them. And then I dropped it. I dropped it until we were all locked into our houses for the pandemic. And one night I was sitting on the couch watching a little documentary called The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's doc. And I was like, man, what a cold basketball player, just stone cold, awesome. What a goes. Let me just go out and buy his rookie card. I think it would be cool to have, probably $20, $50, something like that. Little did I know, at the time, I was looking at the prices when they were peaking, and I was like, $800,000? I don't think I'm going to be able to afford this. But when I saw those prices, I was like, all right, what's going on here? Because I remember, enjoying this when I was younger. What's happening with it nowadays? Why is it so massive now? And that's really where I started to dig in again. I'll also say, when we lost our major 3 sports and we didn't have any sports to watch for those 2 months, that was a dark time. Yeah. And I remember the NBA coming back and playing in the bubble, and that's when I was just locked in. And especially basketball for me. I'm sure if you follow my account on Instagram or if we trade together on My Card Post, you can tell I'm a big hoop head. So that's kind of what I'm passionate about. Obviously, I'm a Rockets guy. Another team that's led me through quite a bit of a dark time these past few years, but we're on the up and up now. So
yeah,
but that's me. That's my journey, at least to this point.
That's super cool. So I'm a similar journey myself, right? I kind of collected as a kid, dropped it for a while, and then around the COVID time, picked things back up, and here we are. 5-6 years later, and like deeply ingrained in the hobby. I was going to ask you, so it's Houston Rockets is your team. Do you have a particular player or players that you kind of PC?
So right around when things were coming back, Harden was pulling his antics and saying that he wanted to be traded from the Rockets, and he gave us 8 solid years of great play, and then he was like, "Nah, I'm done here." And it would be Harden, except that was just kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm still a Harden fan. I'm grateful for what he did. But for right now, it's just the young guys that we have. How can you not love Şengün, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Amin Thompson? Those are my big guys right now. The Rockets' young core, just in general, I'm going to go and pick and choose. And then, I don't have any major cards, but you can't go wrong with buying a Hakeem card, Hakeem Olajuwon. So
yeah, Hakeem. And the other one I was thinking about, you don't really hear too much about. He doesn't get much hobby love. Would be Yao Ming. He's another big Rockets guy too, right?
He is a big Rockets guy, and what I'll say is his stuff is actually decently priced. If you look at his card prices, they hold up pretty well, enough to where I'm like, don't know if I can afford that right now for a Yao Ming card. But yes, him and T-Mac. T-Mac, growing up, I used to watch him and Tracy McGrady.
Absolutely.
They would always do great, and then right when playoffs started, they would both get hurt, and so nothing ever happened. Anyways, yes, that's my PC right there.
But sometimes those are the best guys to buy because they're not in the press. Like people aren't thinking about them. They're not top of mind, but they're great, well-respected athletes that do have a big following. So sometimes the deals are a little bit better on those guys than some of the more modern guys that we're seeing.
Absolutely.
So out of that, Pete, do you have, any particular card of yours that you'd consider like your most cherished or your top PC card? If so, what would that be?
I do. I'm going to pull it for you right now. It's
Nice.
Not a big deal. But it is a pretty one. It is, it's a Jabari Smith Jr. I don't know if you can really tell, but it's a gold introduction for Mosaic out of 10. It's a jersey match 1 out of 10. Again, it's like a $70 card, but I love it. I love it.
That's what I'm all about, is just like the passion for particular cards. And, everybody has their own, cards that interest them or make them more special to them. So that's super cool.
Yeah. And I would say like with my aim with buying PC cards is, it's PC. I'm never going to take it out and sell it. Right. There have been times where I had to move like 1 or 2 things to free up something for a bigger card. But with PC stuff, I'm comfortable with waiting because we don't know, is Jabari Smith going to be just, a good starter?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. And so his card prices will drop. And same with Jalen Green and Sengun. Like those are 2 of the higher, bigger rockets to purchase right now. But I'm patient and waiting to actually see what their career turns out. And I'll take the risk of having to pay a little bit more in the future because I think the odds are in my favor that their prices will continue to drop as speculation drops out of the market and people realize, okay, this person is going to be the next LeBron James. Like I would rather build a PC of, $20 to $30 cards now and get some of the bigger stuff down the road for sure.
Yeah. It's better to be a little bit more patient for a little bit more of a guaranteed thing as they get further established in their career, and you can kind of not label them, but like know exactly the type of player and the trajectory that he's on. Also the teams. I mean, it is kind of important to see like do the teams that they play for have championship potential, because that's unfortunately what most athletes get judged by, is how many championships do they win.
Especially in basketball.
Yeah, for sure. So like I had, for me, it was interesting, like when I jumped back into the hobby, I started just buying all that 90s junk wax stuff that I was interested in PSA 10s. Like, it was silly stuff like Pavel Bure and Alexander Mogilny and Ken Griffey Jr., some of these Ken Griffey Jr. cards, but how would you say your hobby journey has evolved maybe over the last 5 or 6 years since you kind of jumped back into it initially?
So I started off, actually, I just, I was in the process of moving. And I found a package of cards, and they hadn't even been taken out of the team bag. It was from my first break ever. So I was new, and I was like, let me get into this Houston Texans break because, I'm a Houston guy. The Rockets, the Texans, the Astros is going to be my team. And I just found a bunch of base like J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson when he was on the Texans. But that's initially where my journey started, was like, yeah, I'll do this breaking thing. It sounds like fun. And, and it's still, a lot of people have opinions on it. It's a very divisive topic, but I think it's still a lot of fun every once in a while to hop into a break. But it evolved from, I enjoy the breaking, but now I want to tie this into basketball, because basketball was back. First sport back, watching LeBron win the Mickey Mouse championship, as people like to call it. Yeah. Then I started to want cards of players that I was watching on TV. So back in the bubble playoffs, the first or second round was Utah versus Denver Nuggets, and Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell were 50 points and 50 points. So I was buying up these cards of players that I was watching who were popping off and having good games. And then I realized, there's a structure to this. Cards are going to dip in the off season. They're going to go up in the postseason typically, or they're going to go up and be, performance dependent. And as a fantasy football lover, I love that about cards. So it went to prospecting on basketball players, which is hard to do. You will make more mistakes than you will make wins. So you could have convinced me in 2020 that Patrick Williams was going to be the next Kawhi, and I would have believed it. Anyways, it went from understanding, I think the golden rule of the hobby is just to be patient about what you want. So are you sure you want to spend $2,000 on a player that's played one season, that had a really good season, but hasn't actually proven anything? Or do you want to wait a little bit? You want to see how he's developing. Is he going to be the alpha dog on the team and take the shots and stuff like that? So I would say patience is kind of a big one that I learned. And I also understood that, if you're selling on eBay, which is what I got into as well, you don't need to accept the first offer that comes to the door. Be patient. You can wait. You don't have to take that 20% loss. You can wait for a better offer.
Yeah.
But what I know today is buy the cards that you're okay and comfortable holding on to, even if you can't flip it for a profit, because not everything is about money. It is a hobby for a reason. You buy cards of players that you love. And I do love the aspect of flipping singles and flipping cards, but patience would pay off more, especially thinking about some of the losses that I took in the beginning as I was just selling cards, because I was like, this guy just got hurt. Let me sell him for the lowest price possible.
Yeah. You mentioned fantasy football. Actually, is immediately what popped into my mind is how much that style plays into cards, because, I just did my most recent fantasy football draft last weekend. I have another one coming up as well. But you're focused on the games and the individual success of the players on your fantasy football team, which is interesting. And cards are no different. You buy these, if you PC these cards, or, players in general, or you have very specific cards that you do want them to go up in value. So you're like emotionally attached to the player's performance in a game or whatnot. And I've done that with like Colin Morikawa and golf cards, where I've seen him like playing really well and in top 10 contention, and, just buying his cards because I feel like this is a player that he's eventually going to, he's going to get that major win or whatnot. All that stuff is very interesting. All right, let's flip to my card post. So, we kind of mentioned that, you're coming up on your 100th deal here. You've been on the platform around 8 or 9 months. Apologies for the dog. Would love to just learn a little bit more about like when you first discovered my card post and, what initially attracted you to the platform.
Yeah, so I was flipping through Instagram one night, and I think I saw one of the Instagram ads that you could get my card post for $1 for that month. And, the trading aspect of the hobby was one that I hadn't explored very much. I understand buying on eBay, selling, going to shows, buying from shows, and how dealers negotiate. Never really had crossed my mind to like trade cards. Because to be quite frank, I was kind of tired of taking the 15% off of what the card was actually valued to actually sell the card. And so the my card post thing popped up. I was like, wow, this is great. And then from there, it just kind of snowballed. I found some people to make deals with, some people in Canada to make deals with. I think I traded, one of my first trades was for Shea Gilgeous-Alexander card. And I think I traded away some football cards that I didn't really want at the time. And from there, it's just been evolving. And I took everything off my card post currently, but I'm about to refresh it with a bunch of products and a bunch of stuff to get to that 100.
Yeah. So it sounds like you maybe were initially attracted to, hey, there's no fees here. Maybe I get some better deals, keep a little bit more of my profits. And then you're slowly uncovering all the different types of flexibility of deal types around, I can trade cards for cards and cards for cash and make all these different kinds of deals.
100%. The no fee thing is a big deal. Like to be able to, to backtrack on this a little bit too, the no fee thing is a big deal. But I think what kept me coming back was the fact that you got to see so many people's collections. You got to message each other, talk through different deals. I would say 50% of my deals don't happen on the first initial offer that's sent, and actually happens in the DMs, right? So, hey, when you're talking to someone and you're, having a conversation, that's what I really like about my card post that other platforms don't allow you to do. You don't know who you're dealing with on the other end of that in different platforms, but my card post allows that community to flourish. And that's what I really, really enjoyed about the platform.
Yeah, that was so much of like what was so important in the beginning was for it to be totally open, for there not to be any concerns about, people taking deals offline or anything like that. And it's like that, again, is part of the subscription model, right? It just changes everything. It unlocks all these different types of capabilities and messaging options. And two people strike a deal on my card post and they realize that they live 10 minutes from each other and they want to go to Starbucks and hand the cards off, go for it. Like, it doesn't,
Right.
it's okay, and that stuff's great. So we've been evolving the platform. I don't know if actually, have you been part of the beta group testing the mobile app at all?
I haven't. I think I've only done one or two deals.
Okay.
But yes, the app coming out, it's going to be a game changer, I think, for everyone involved. I'm excited about it. It's clean. It's crisp. I like it.
Yeah, that's cool. Any other features of the platform that you've kind of noticed? I mean, we've rolled out our feed with a lot of like interaction things there, or anything else that you've kind of been drawn to. And I know you kind of took a break because you were going to the national with your inventory, so you have a little bit of a pause on your shop there. But
yeah, so my rule is to, like, 2 weeks before the national, I wanted to have everything landed and in hand. I took everything off all of the platforms that I use because I just want to go and rotate out my collection. But what I will say is I love the feed. I love seeing what people are like really trying to move at the time, because you'll find motivated traders at that point. I also have spent hours looking at the archive, which is something that we talked about a couple months ago through DMs. I was like, how are you looking at trades that happened in the past? And I just love to go through and look at trades. And I'm like, wow, I wish I would have made this person that deal. Someone just bought all these cards for $1,500, but the value is like $2,000. Like, you see wins, you see people making big trades. I could spend a long time in the archives of my card posts.
So if you haven't noticed, we've bubbled those up to the feed now. So now any deal, the ones that are at least over $100, now they're just kind of automatically flowing into the feed so that people can look and see those particular transactions, which has been really cool. What about, so again, you're 97 deals on my card post, closing in on 100. Do you have a memorable one or two that you'd like to share?
Gas breaks. Man, so that's a card shop, and I believe it's a card shop that's right outside of Seattle, in Washington. They have great inventory, especially for someone that's looking for basketball cards quite a bit. I traded I can't remember my end of the deal. It was probably some football cards of maybe some young QBs, but he had a Nikola Jokic Prism Mojo Auto out of 25 that I had to have. So I made that big deal with gas breaks. At some point, there was a 2013 Innovation Stained Glass Dirk Nowitzki PSA 10 that popped up on gas breaks feed. I regret it. I moved it. I regret moving it, but that was a beautiful card, and one that I'm still learning. You got to hold on to some of these cards because they just don't pop up. I think that was pop 9 on that card. So I did that, and then a lot of my wins have been through purchases. Dan's cards, I'm going to give him a shout out because I've bought from him a lot. I've bought. I bought 2 Ant-Man autos from him. I bought a Wemby PSA 10 cracked ice from him, and I bought a Pat Mahomes Silver Prism from him, a rookie Prism from him. And with things running and flowing through my card post with no fees, like, just things come out the bottom line much cheaper, and it's much easier for you to go and then trade that card that you picked up in the future, because you don't feel like you're losing the money on tax or any sort of marketplace fees or anything like that.
Yeah, just closing that gap between buyer and seller, even if just a cash transaction, is so thin, about as thin as it can get, is really very key and strategic into striking deals, because a lot of times people can sell something for less on my card post and still walk away with more than if they sold it for a higher price on any other platform. So that's very cool. So how does my card post kind of blend into your day-to-day around cards? I mean, obviously you have other options. There's eBay, there's MySlabs, there's all these other platforms, but how has kind of my card post weaved into your day-to-day, if you will?
That's true. I would say that I am probably a hybrid between a collector / hobbyist / I want to make some profit here. So I'm on there every day looking and seeing what people are adding to their inventory, right? Because this is the type of platform where you will see stuff that you won't see normally, or if it pops up on eBay, it's at a ridiculous price and there's no reasoning there. Like there's nothing that you can do to acquire that item except for having a sizable amount of money. I think what it's done is it's changed what I'm looking for when I'm going through and sourcing inventory and cards, to adapt to what things that I think people would be comfortable trading. So instead of buying a real big, $1,500 card, maybe I'll stick to a $300 to $400 card that will have some trade value to someone and be able to use several of those to build up to a $1,500 card.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I think Gas Breaks, I think he was the first person we had on the podcast here. And he was talking about almost that exact same thing. It's like where people would come into a shop and they maybe would bring him some basketball cards. And typically he'd be like, nah, I'm all set. Like I'm not gonna be able to move this really well at store. Now these people come into his shop, they have these basketball cards and he's thinking of you. He's like, I can take these. I know someone on my card post who's definitely going to be interested in these, and I can, we can make a deal. So it is really interesting how the dynamics change when you actually build a relationship and you get to know people and you're doing, many deals with the same people. It does kind of change the types of, cards that you, or would take the opportunities that come to you. It kind of changes your perception of like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I will take this card. Which reminds me, Gas Breaks, he actually picked up a card for me at a card show, and I need to get that from him. So,
yeah, he's currently holding a card like over my head. He has that Steph Curry auto, which I don't know if it's there or not. I've tried many times to trade for him, to trade for it, but that's on my list to get one day.
Well, I'd love to just, from obviously you've been on the platform for a while. I would love if you have any advice that you would share with new people who may be joining My Card Post today or in the last couple of weeks. Like, what could they learn from you on how to be successful? Any thoughts or advice that you could share would be awesome.
A reasonable conversation is going to go further than you just spitting out a bunch of deals. Build up that relationship. Downey Sports Cards, they're one of the first people on the platform that I started reaching out to, talking to. We've added each other on Instagram. We did a few trades in the beginning, but we both know that we're passionate about basketball and we're hoop heads, and that's awesome. But I would say build that relationship. And I mean that in a genuine aspect, because that will help you get deals done. And it takes away a lot of the awkwardness of, hey, I want to make this deal. What are you looking for? Right. And I would say, keep pivoting. If there's a card that you see that you really want, reach out to that person and talk it through with them. And sometimes you'll find out that, hey, I'm not going to let this card go for anything less than the number I have stated. Or sometimes they're like, hey, I have, this is a duplicate copy, so I'm a little bit more lenient on what I'm taking in. But I would say building that relationship, which is what My Card Post allows you to do, is an awesome way to get deals done.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan. I would love to end with just, where can people find you and connect with you? Again, that's all what My Card Post is about. Like, where can they find you, connect with you on social? So anything you want to share there?
Yeah, so My Card Post, obviously, I will refresh my store. I have lots of Pokemon cards coming in that I don't know what I'm doing. But My Card Post, Packburst. And then on Instagram, you can see me goofing off. I'm at Packburst as well. I'm typically a little bit more active during basketball season, but I try and do some funny stuff during the off season and show off some cards that I'm picking up. So Packburst on Instagram as well.
Perfect. Well, Jordan, thanks again. Appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me for our community to learn a little bit more about you. And for those of you that want to do some deals with Jordan when he gets some of his new cards up on My Card Post, you can find him at mycardpost.com/Packburst. Jordan, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you.